In this video, I'm going to try and understand how the Panasonic Lumix GH5 exposes an image, paying particular attention to when noise is introduced, noise which may affect the point of interest. I've been shooting with the Panasonic Lumix GH5 since March 30th, 2017. I've brought the GH5 with me on paid professional projects as well as non-paid personal projects. My goal with this video is to learn how to get the most out of this camera system and identify where it fits best for the type of work that I'm involved with. I realize that this is a learning process, so I've set up a test where I can control the lighting and the environment to try and understand why some of my images have been noisy. In case you're wondering, I really like the Panasonic Lumix GH5, and this is why I'm running this test, so that I can learn and improve my skills when shooting with this camera system. We are in my studio here at mediaonq. The first step was to dial in a white balance using my Sekonic C700 color meter. I'm using one of my Cineo Maverick lights with the 3200K panel to light this scene. I'm controlling the spill with a softbox and a grid, GH5. As you can see, the color meter reads 3126K, so I dialed in 3100 as my white balance on the GH5. Rather than using the on-camera tools to judge and set the exposure, I use my Sekonic L308DC Digicinimate. It's a light meter, and that helped me dial in my exposure. In this first clip, I'm at ISO 200, 1/25th shutter, and an f-stop of 2.8 using the natural color profile. I had to use a shutter of 1/25th to get the proper exposure because my Panasonic lens can only stop down to f2.8. In this next clip, I'm using the on-camera tools to set the exposure. When I use the on-camera tools, the whole frame is exposed rather than only my point of interest. Here, even at ISO 200 on my 4K monitor, I can see some noise on the gradients in the background. Here are some sample clips that I shot at ISO 200, and what I can see on my monitor is very similar to what I saw in my test clip, where I used the on-camera tools to judge and set the exposure. I'm now bumping up the ISO to 400. This means I can also show vlog. I am now also able to bump up my shutter speed to 1/50th because I have enough light thanks to the higher ISO. Because I'm shooting in vlog, it is now also easier for me to see the noise in the background. This is the same shot, only switching to the natural picture profile, and while the noise is there, it's only visible in the gradients. The dark sections of the image look really clean. So now I'm switching back to using the onboard tools or the on-camera tools to judge and set my exposure. Using this method makes the noise much more visible on my monitor. In these sample clips, you may notice that there is a bit of noise in any areas where there are shadows. Let's bump up the ISO to 800 and switch back over to vlog. The noise is now visible across the entire frame. This means that my point of interest is now affected by noise. I must now pay attention to this because if my talent is affected by noise, I will have to plan for that cleanup process in post. Noise reduction in post means that I'm also now starting to soften up my image because of the noise reduction. Let's take a look at how the natural picture profile sees this scene. Not only can I see the noise affecting my point of interest, but it is also now more pronounced in the background. And using the onboard tools on the GH5 to set my exposure, I'm having a difficult time deciding which of these methods produces a better image. I feel like the noise is there, but it takes away less from my point of interest. Let's look at some sample clips that were shot at ISO 800. So while the entire frame has noise, backlit shots accentuate the noise. Moving on to ISO 1600, shooting in vlog, I've also now had to stop down to f5.6. No surprise, right? Higher ISOs generally mean more noise. Switching over to the natural picture profile, this is where things become a bit interesting. The size and the resolution of the screen play a significant role as to how you see noise. Small screens like my mobile phone do a great job at hiding this. My 15-inch MacBook Pro does a good job of also hiding the noise. My 32-inch 4K monitor and my 52-inch 4K OLED display, on the other hand, are not forgiving at all. And here are 4 clips which all have significant amount of visible noise on both of my displays. I will have to run them through the denoising process in Resolve Studio in the future to determine how usable these might be. And now, just for the sake of being thorough, here is a sample of ISO 3200 in vlog at f8. This is what ISO 3200 at f8 looks like when using the natural picture profile. And now, I've used the on-camera tools to set the exposure. These clips were shot using ISO 3200, so I'll echo what others have said. ISO 3200, from what I can see, is not usable. Pushing the ISO to 6400 introduces artifacts in the noise. This first clip is shot at ISO 6400 at f11 in vlog. This is now ISO 6400 at f11 using the natural picture profile. And this is ISO 6400 at f11 using the on-camera tools to judge the exposure. And on this last clip, I use the on-camera tools to set my exposure, shooting at ISO 6400. In this last set of clips, I pushed the ISO all the way up to 12,800. Not something I would ever do, but I thought I would include it so that it would complete my test. When switching to the natural color profile, I was surprised to see that many of the green artifacts in the noise actually go away. I don't expect that anyone would actually shoot at this ISO, but I do find it interesting to see how the image is processed. I'm curious, at what ISO did you start to see the noise? What device were you using to watch this video? Please make sure to let me know in the comments below. If you have any suggestions as to how I might do a better job when exposing with the Panasonic Lumix GH5, please also share that in the notes below and I will be sure to give it a shot. I hope that you found this information useful. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see the rest of the videos in this series. Until next time, I'm Carlos Quintero from mediaonq, helping you compete in today's web economy. Thank you for watching.